The stars over Jupiter burned with an eerie clarity, as though the cosmos itself held its breath. Admiral Aisha Khan stood at the observation deck of the ESS Resolute, her silhouette etched in cold steel and reflection. The glass before her stretched across the length of the command bridge, revealing the massive swirls of the gas giant below. Beyond that, empty space. Or what had once been empty. "They've stopped moving," Lieutenant Vega reported, voice clipped, eyes flicking between holographic overlays. Holding formation at the edge of the heliopause. 11 capital-class signatures. No response to hails. Aisha didn't answer immediately. She stared outward, her dark eyes searching for meaning in the silence. They detected the approach 3 days ago. Something vast, methodical, purposeful. Now, it loomed on the edge of the solar system like a judgment passed down from forgotten gods. "Put us to yellow alert. Activate deep range scans again. No active pings." She turned. "And send the latest telemetry to command. They'll want to see this for themselves." "Yes, ma'am." She left the bridge without further word, her pace controlled. The internal corridors of the Resolute felt narrower than usual, claustrophobic in a way space never was. Aisha's thoughts ran far faster than her stride. The fleet was still organizing. 16 cruisers, 3 carriers, and a patchwork of planetary defense craft pulled hastily from Mars, Luna, and the Terran orbital arrays. It was a show of unity, but she knew better. They were not ready. She entered the strategic briefing chamber, where her senior officers were already gathered, data scrolling in silence across the room's central holodeble. Rear Admiral Tieler from the Martian Republic looked up, lips pursed. "They're not here to talk, are they?" "I don't believe they are," Aisha said. Commander Marcos, young but sharp, leaned forward. "Then what do they want?" Aisha's gaze shifted to projection. The alien vessel, sleek, almost organic in design, held a strange symmetry that defied human engineering norms. Green bioluminescence pulsed across their exteriors in rhythm, as if breathing. No crew heat signatures, no identifiable energy cores, no known communication formats. But they had come this far, crossing interstellar gulfs with terrifying precision. "They want compliance," she said at last. "Submission without dialogue. We're not being contacted. We're being warned." A heavy silence followed. "Then why stop now?" asked Taylor. "To show us they can." As if to answer her, the lights flickered, then a sound not through the air, but directly into their minds. A low, humming pressure that settled at the base of the skull. The holodeble spasmed. For 3 heartbeats, the alien ships pulsed brighter. Then the image shifted. A symbol appeared, projected through their own systems. A perfect circle, ringed in fire. And beneath it, a voice, alien mechanical, but unmistakably declarative, spoke in every language known to Earth. "Cease. Yield. Submit." Taylor rose sharply. "How the hell did they?" "They're inside our systems," Aisha said. "We've been scanned, every frequency, every shield protocol." The room broke into overlapping voices. She let it go for a moment before slamming her hand onto the table, silencing them. "We will not panic," she said. "We were chosen to lead Earth's defense. If this is how they open diplomacy, we respond with discipline, not desperation." Later that night, Aisha returned to her quarters. She stood before a small digital photo frame on her desk. Her daughter's face smiled back at her, 8 years old, braces just visible, waving from the cliffs of Cape Town. That picture was taken the day she'd been promoted to admiral. She'd promised they'd go to the moon together. She let the image fade and pulled up a file from Earth Command. Contingency Protocol Spearpoint Omega. The one labeled No Return Engagement. She read it, not for the first time, but as a reminder, if diplomacy failed, they were authorized to strike preemptively. Not just authorized, expected. The next morning, Earth's response was broadcast. Calm, measured, and pointed. A diplomatic message relayed on multiple spectrums. It emphasized peace, sovereignty, a willingness to establish neutral grounds. There was no reply. Instead, 2 of Earth's deep space satellites went dark. Hours later, debris was found drifting in Saturn's rings, small, melted fragments bearing human serial numbers. By then, the news had reached the public. Across Earth and its colonies, panic spread like wildfire. Some fell to conspiracy, claiming the images were fabricated. Others turned to faith, praying to old gods for deliverance. Governments scrambled to maintain order, but the veil of planetary peace was torn wide open. In every home, every city, the question thundered, what now? Aisha convened her fleet near Titan, using its shadow to conceal their regrouping. The resolute Yamamoto and Liberté formed the core. Automated drones fanned outward. A forward recon vessel, the Chiron, was dispatched with a stealth pod to approach the alien formation. It never returned. The transmission was brief. Just 8 seconds of garbled static, a shriek of electromagnetic distortion, and a final, frozen frame. The Chiron engulfed in pale green light, vanishing into itself. Aisha stood once again before the fleet's command window, knuckles white against the railing. "This is a first strike," said Vega, quietly. "No," Aisha replied. "It's a message. They want us to know exactly how helpless we are." "We're not helpless," Vega said, a little louder now. "They just haven't seen what we can do yet." Aisha turned. Something passed between them. A flicker of iron resolve, or maybe just shared fear disguised as courage. That evening, the alien fleet began to move. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate. They passed through the asteroid belt like phantoms, undisturbed by gravity or debris. Earth's fleet shadowed them, holding distance, waiting. For the first time in humanity's history, an extraterrestrial presence was within the inner solar system. The sky no longer belonged to Earth. Then it happened. At 3:44 Greenwich Mean Time, an alien interceptor broke formation, darted toward Mars Orbital Station, and without warning, released a pulsing orb of green light. In seconds, the entire station, housing 300 researchers and diplomats, folded in on itself, vanishing with silent flash. No heat, no explosion. Just absence. The transmission reached Aisha mid-briefing. No reaction at first. Just a slow exhale. Then she turned to her officers. "Transmit this to all fleet ships," she said. "As of now, Earth Defense Code Theta is active. Engage if engaged. Protect the cradle." One by one, the command lights on the holodable turned red. Readiness status confirmed. The last frame of the section held firm in everyone's mind. Not the attack, not the fleet, but Earth itself, rising behind the curve of the moon. Small, bright, fragile. As the fleet adjusted formation and moved to intercept, Aisha gave the final order. "Prepare to show them we are not afraid." And for the first time in decades, war returned to the stars. The silence of space was a lie. Admiral Aisha Khan watched in the command chair as the alien ships crept past the orbit of Mars, casting long shadows across the darkness. Earth's fleet, Vanguard Division, held a jagged perimeter along the asteroid belt, hiding behind rock clusters, repurposed mining rigs, and cloaked relay buoys. Every ship sat poised, silent, waiting. The ambush was not ideal, but it was necessary. "Enemy fleet is within the kill zone," Lieutenant Vega announced, eyes fixed to his interface. "Still no indication they've detected us." "They've detected us," Aisha murmured. "They're just not concerned." The trap was triggered seconds later. From a cluster of asteroids, railgun platforms lit up the void with streaks of molten tungsten. The ESS Yamamoto fired its ion cannons in tandem with the Liberté, targeting the rearmost alien cruisers. 2 enemy ships were struck mid-transit, one spiraling in silence. Its glowing carapace cracked like an eggshell. The other detonated, green plasma leaking like blood into the vacuum. Then came the response. Without visible communication or formation change, the remaining alien fleet wheeled as one, accelerating in eerie synchrony. Their weapons didn't fire from barrels or launchers. Instead, energy seemed to ripple from their hulls in shimmering waves. A pulse emanated through the dark. A vibrational disturbance had passed through the debris field and slammed into the Vanguard fleet with crushing force. The Tycho spun off course, its stabilizer shot. A Mars-built frigate disintegrated instantly, armor peeling like paper. On the bridge of the Resolute, The shock wave registered as an electromagnetic distortion that sent displays flickering and automated systems crashing. Report. Aisha barked, voice cutting through the chaos. Shields holding but draining fast. 70% and dropping. Vega called. Our electronic grid's being scrambled. They're not just hitting us. They're rewriting local physics. Admiral TLR's voice crackled over the intercom. They've deployed drones. 12, maybe more. Fast. Self-propelled. I'm requesting fire support. Granted. Aisha said, redirect auxiliary batteries. Concentrate fire on those drones. Through the viewport, she watched the alien interceptors. A swarm of obsidian shards, sharp and twitching like insects. They zipped between Earth's ships, dodging flak, adapting mid-flight. A pair of them circled the Calypso, slashing into its hull with beams that cut through alloy like air. The cruiser vented oxygen and bodies into the void. On board the Resolute, Aisha clenched her jaw as tactical overlays updated. Already, 3 ships were gone. Mars Station was offline. A single alien cruiser had absorbed 3 direct plasma torpedoes and kept coming. They're not just superior, she said aloud. They're evolving. Commander Marcos, seated beside her, slammed a fist into the console. We're giving them everything, and they're barely registering it. These aren't war machines, they're executioners. No, Aisha said slowly. They're scientists. This is dissection. The battle raged for 22 minutes. It felt like days. Vanguard forces managed to destroy 5 enemy units using coordinated missile barges and gravitational mines. But they lost 8 ships in return. The Resolute itself took a glancing hit that tore through Deck 11 and left a hull scar running the length of the dorsal spine. And then, just as suddenly, the enemy retreated. No communication. No final strike. They simply veered away and vanished behind the Saturn horizon, leaving only static and wreckage in their wake. Aisha didn't celebrate. This was reconnaissance. They didn't come to win. They came to learn. In the following hours, the surviving fleet regrouped near Ganymede, using its magnetic field as partial cover. Repairs were triaged. Communications with Earth were reestablished. The casualty report came in. Over 1,000 dead, 300 more missing. Not a single alien corpse had been recovered during the debriefing. Aisha remained composed, but behind her eyes, something colder began to settle. This war is asymmetrical, she said to the High Command, holographically arrayed before her. We are not facing an empire or an army. We are facing a surgical force. They test our boundaries, and they escalate proportionally. They didn't come for conquest. They came for control. One of the Terran Council generals spoke up. Then we need to escalate too. More ships, faster tech. Get the labs working in shifts. No, Aisha interrupted. They already predicted we'd react that way. Throwing more steel at them won't matter. We need unpredictability. Tactics they can't model. She looked to Marcos, who'd been quiet. How long until Project Halo is field ready? Marcos hesitated. We've run sims, not tests. It's a prototype. It could destabilize local space-time. Good. Aisha said, that might give us a fighting chance. Later, in the quieter quarters, she opened the data logs from the Chiron. A tech crew had recovered partial signal fragments from the destroyed scout ship. Among them was a burst of alien language, symbols that had begun rewriting themselves mid-transmission, not randomly, algorithmically, as if the message were not a message, but an invasive command. She stared at it for minutes, and then she saw it, a repetition pattern, a recursion, almost like a name. Tiwarencho. She whispered it aloud, testing the sound. The name resonated with something she couldn't place, something ancient. The logs have been analyzed by linguists and AI systems across 5 colonies. None had seen anything like it, and yet the pattern repeated, always at the beginning of a drone attack, always just before a ship was destroyed. Later that night, she summoned Marcos to the observation chamber. Whoever or whatever is leading them. Tiwarencho, if that's its name, doesn't want to destroy us yet. It wants to see how we adapt. You think it's watching you specifically? No, she said. I think it's watching all of us. But I might be the one it's talking to. A pause. If that's true, Marco said, what do you say back? Aisha turned to the viewport, where Jupiter loomed like a silent giant. I say, you misjudged humanity before. Others have. It never ends well. As if summoned by her resolve, an alert pulsed across the fleet. New alien signatures. Not large, not ships. Pods. Dozens of them launched toward Earth. They weren't weapons. They weren't fast enough to strike or equipped to detonate. But they were entering the atmosphere. And whatever was inside them, it wasn't waiting to be invited. Admiral Khan's eyes narrowed. Begin intercept protocols. Full planetary defense activation. Prepare for ground contact. And somewhere, far beyond Saturn's reach, a single alien cruiser floated in silence, its interior dark save for a pulsing core of green light. At its heart, something ancient stirred, its voice echoing through systems not built by human hands. Adaptation confirmed. Phase 2 initiated. The war had just changed, and Earth had only moments left to catch up. Earth had always imagined its first contact would come with ceremony. Grand speeches, solemn handshakes, maybe even music. Instead, it arrived on fire. The alien pods fell through skies like slow-motion meteors, their descent luminous and deliberate. Dozens streaked across the night, trailing green ion trails that shimmered with unnatural vibrancy. They struck the ground with uncanny precision. Outside cities, near power hubs, along old tectonic lines. No explosions, no immediate aggression, just presence. Cold, calculated presence. Admiral Aisha Khan watched the live feed from orbit, her face stone. Earth Command had activated global lockdown procedures within an hour. Satellites repositioned, orbital defenses trained downward. It felt unnatural, aiming Earth's might at itself, but there was no choice. The war had come home. We had confirmed landings in 10 sectors, Vega reported, scrolling rapidly through a list of coordinates. Casablanca, Nevada, Guangdong, the Congo Rift, northern Siberia. It's worldwide. Synchronized. They're deploying an array, Aisha murmured. A planetary net of some kind. Commander Marcos, now heading tactical integration, leaned forward. Our drones show structures forming around the pods. They're emitting low-frequency pulses, nothing we've seen before. They're broadcasting. Broadcasting what? Aisha asked. We don't know yet, but local AI systems are acting erratic. Civil networks flickering. It's like the pods are seeding interference into the global architecture. She exhaled slowly. Get me Director Okoye at Atlas Station. I want ground confirmation. Real-time biologicals. No filters. The screen switched, revealing the interior of Earth's primary underground research facility in the Sahara, a hardened lab built during the Martian War, now repurposed for crisis data analysis. Director Amaro Okoye appeared, clad in a pressure suit, her dark eyes lined with exhaustion. Aisha, she said, skipping formalities. We got one of the pods intact. Landed 30 kilometers from here. No hostiles yet, but the energy signatures are like nothing we've modeled. It's reshaping the substrate beneath it, molecularly. Terraforming, something subtler. More parasitic. It's not conquering terrain. It's rewriting it. Aisha absorbed that. How fast? Too fast. A beat. There's more, Okoye said. We sent in a probe. The interior of the pod is reactive. It mimicked the probe's structure within seconds, built a near-exact replica. But then it did something different. It changed the copy, made it sleeker, smarter. Aisha stiffened. They're adapting to our machines, rebuilding them better. It's not just mimicry, Okoye said. It's optimization. These things are evolutionary catalysts. A sudden klaxon blared across the Atlas feed. The camera shook. Behind Okoye, lights dimmed. She turned sharply. Wait. The feed cut to black. Signal lost. Vega confirmed. Retask orbital recon. I want visual confirmation from above. Aisha ordered. Her voice was calm, but her fingers clenched tight on the rail. On the far side of the solar system, Earth's last deep space satellite, Eurydice, sent back an image moments later. Atlas Station, or what remained of it, surrounded by a crystalline growth of shimmering alien matter. The terrain around it had turned silver, etched with geometrical patterns too perfect for nature, too strange for humanity. Gone, Marco said. That quickly. Aisha stared at the image in silence. We're no longer dealing with a military invasion, she said at last. This is something deeper. This is systemic, existential. In Geneva, the Terran Council fractured in panic. Proposals flew, nuclear strikes on pod sites, deployment of cryoweapons, even mass evacuation to orbit. But Aisha knew better. The aliens had anticipated every standard protocol. They hadn't come to negotiate or annihilate. They had come to transform. And humanity was the variable in their equation. 3 hours later, Earth launched Operation Scorch, a coordinated orbital strike against 6 confirmed pod zones. The plan was brutal but surgical. Drop thermokinetic rods at near-relativistic speeds to vaporize the targets without contaminating the atmosphere. The operation went off perfectly. At first, 6 flashes lit up the globe. Temperatures at impact points exceeded solar surface levels. Nothing should have survived. But when the thermal bloom cleared, the pods were still there. No visible damage. Only growth. The alien material had absorbed the energy, reconfigured, and expanded. Marcos looked up from the data in disbelief. They used our attack to power themselves. They're feeding on entropy, Aisha said, turning destruction into evolution. It was then that the message came. No signal origin. No traceable carrier. It appeared on every screen, every transmission, every frequency. A symbol, a shifting circle of light, and then a voice, cold and patient. You seek resistance. We offer integration. Your biology is flawed. Your systems are obsolete. Cease your struggle. Become more. The voice wasn't cruel. It was indifferent. A machine offering an upgrade. An invitation dressed in extermination. Then came the vision. Across Earth, thousands of people collapsed in unison. Seizures, temporary neural shocks. When they awoke, they all spoke the same words in the same voice. TYRN show awaits. Earth was no longer facing an enemy. It was facing a transformation. But not everyone was paralyzed by fear. In the underbelly of the Resolute, engineers and physicists clustered around a prototype, Project Halo. It was humanity's most desperate innovation, a controlled collapse field generator that could sever local physics laws in a fixed radius. Dangerous, unstable, but perhaps the only thing the aliens couldn't model. Aisha stood beside it, watching the core pulse like a sleeping heart. Activate the diagnostics, she said. Marcos hesitated. If we detonate this, we won't just hit them. We'll destabilize the area for kilometers. Could wipe out cities. Then we deploy it where there are no cities, Aisha replied. Somewhere symbolic. Somewhere they've chosen. You mean Atlas Station? The order went out. Project Halo would be Earth's first answer. Not with words, but with unpredictability. As the Resolute prepared for departure, Aisha took one final look at the Earth below. Scars already forming, lights flickering across continents. She knew this wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a war for identity. And humanity wasn't done fighting. Not yet. The descent toward Atlas Station was made in silence. The Resolute glided through the upper atmosphere cloaked by an adaptive sheath, its exterior shimmering like liquid shadow. Clouds broke apart around it, revealing the scarred Sahara below, no longer golden, but overlaid with a lattice of alien silver. The landscape pulsed faintly, alive in ways it was never meant to be. Structures rose where none had existed before, crystalline towers, recursive spirals, slow-turning pylons that hummed in an infrasonic rhythm. Admiral Aisha Khan stood at the forward viewport, hands clasped behind her back, gaze steady. Behind her, Commander Marcos reviewed the final parameters for Project Halo. We'll only get one clean detonation, he said. After that, the core collapses in on itself. We either sever the local substrate cleanly, or we tear the laws of causality apart for 20 clicks in every direction. Aisha nodded. We knew that going in. Marcos hesitated. Still time to abort. No, she said. If we flinch now, they win. Beneath them, Atlas stations remains glimmered, half subsumed by alien matter. Towers of mirrored black glass spiraled skyward, and strange vines of pulsing metal crept across the sand like veins. Drones skimmed the air, oblong, eyeless, perfect. None of them attacked. They're letting us come, Marcos observed. Why? Because they don't believe we're capable of anything unexpected. He looked at her. Are we? She didn't answer. The Resolute hovered just beyond the boundary zone, while a ground team deployed. The Halo device, encased in a ceramic stasis shell, was lowered by grav cables into the epicenter. The exact coordinates where the first pod had landed. No resistance. No response. On the surface, the air was strangely clean. Sterile. Sensors showed no conventional bacteria, no native biome. The land had been rewritten. Lieutenant Song, leading the drop team, reported in, "We've reached the site, confirming positioning, uploading final calibration." From orbit, Aisha watched the readout stabilize. The core began to charge, and then the voice returned. "You persist in error." Every screen flickered. The bridge lights dimmed. Even the inert displays buzzed as if alive. "You reject perfection. You choose limitation. This is inefficient." A figure appeared. It wasn't real, not in any physical sense, but it projected across every visual field. A humanoid form made of light and shadow, faceless, rimmed in symbols that twisted with motion. It hovered over the Halo deployment zone like a judgment. "To our end show," Aisha said aloud. It didn't answer with words. Instead, a field of energy blossomed around it. Silent, expanding. The drones below activated in synchrony, lifting into the air like a metallic flock. But they didn't fire. They surrounded the Halo core. "Commander," Song said over comms, voice tight. "They're enclosed in the device." "We have to detonate now," Marco said, "before they compromise the field parameters." Aisha gave no order. Instead, she approached the console, leaned forward, and spoke clearly. "I am Admiral Aisha Khan of Earth's fleet. You call us obsolete. You call us flawed. But everything you're doing proves otherwise." The projection tilted, silent. "You keep adapting to us," she said, "which means you haven't mastered unpredictability. You fear chaos. You fear error. That's your weakness." The drones froze midair. The field pulsed. Then the voice replied, not aloud, but inside every mind on the Resolute, on the ground, across the globe. "Chaos cannot be mastered. It must be erased." "Then come erase me," Aisha whispered. She tapped the manual override. The Halo core detonated. There was no explosion in the traditional sense. Space folded. Light vanished. Sound inverted. The landscape buckled as the local laws of time and energy decoupled from a universal constant. A sphere of unreality expanded from the epicenter, swallowing the drones, the projection, and surrounding alien architecture. Within seconds, the core burned itself out, collapsing into a neat sphere of melted glass surrounded by silence. Song's voice returned to comms. "Sight is clear. Alien structures have ceased activity. No movement. No signal. They're gone." On board the Resolute, the crew held their breath. Marcos exhaled. "It worked." "Did it?" Aisha asked softly. Because even as the dust settled, even as Atlas Station's remnants crumbled into silence, a low hum began anew. Far below the surface, deeper than any drill had reached, something stirred. Sensors spiked. Vibrations climbed. A new transmission emerged, encoded differently this time, not invasive, but searching, as if probing for reaction. Response registered. Paradigm shift acknowledged. Humanity is capable of unscripted recursion. TYRN show will recalculate. The message ended. The alien presence did not. Back in Earth orbit, the Resolute returned to its patrol vector. No more pods fell. No more signals were intercepted. For the first time in days, the skies were quiet. But Aisha knew better. This was no victory. It was recognition. And that was more dangerous. The aliens hadn't come to destroy humanity. They had come to understand it. And now, they had something new to study. Defiance. True, raw, illogical resistance. The unpredictable element they hadn't accounted for. Aisha sat alone in her quarters, staring at the fragment of data recovered from the original pod. The glyphs had changed, reformed, reordered. A new symbol pulsed at the center. Not theirs. Ours. The war had entered a new phase. One of intelligence, of pressure, of slow transformations and layered choices. Earth had defied alien dominance, but it had also made contact. And whatever came next, it was already listening.